Hey everyone, this is Azazel, and I'm bringing you a quick video on Gunbreaker, more specifically No Mercy, and how to fit 9 GCDs inside your No Mercy buff. So you've been optimizing Gunbreaker, learning it, and you've been uploading your parses, and it's telling you you're not fitting 9 GCDs inside No Mercy. And you may have tried different things like stacking more skill speed or trying different builds, but no matter what you do, unless you actually begin to use No Mercy properly, no matter how much speed you actually stack, unless it's a ludicrous, impossible amount, it's not going to rectify the issue. Now, regardless of the build you use, it's possible to land 9 GCDs in No Mercy given you're not playing under extreme latency or you're doing something like triple weaving or clipping your GCD. So long as ideally your GCD is rolling exactly when it needs to, it's pretty much possible to do the 9 GCDs in any build. So for this demonstration, I'll be using a 2.43. I run a 2.41 personally, but for the sake of this discussion, we'll use a 2.43. So the reason why you're not hitting 9 GCDs is most likely because you're hitting No Mercy too early. When you use a GCD in this game, you'll see an animation play over most abilities that looks like a clock spinning. So if I hit Keen Edge, and Brutal Shell, and Solid Bar, you'll see there is a clock spinning on most of my abilities. This is a GCD clock, or what I refer to as a GCD clock, rather. If you hit No Mercy too early in that clock, the buff itself will expire between GCDs being available, thus stopping you landing your 9th hit. But by delaying that usage of No Mercy to that clock being about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through, you're lining up the end of the buff with a GCD being available, thus catching the 9th GCD. By doing this, you can consistently hit the 9 GCDs. Now, there may be other factors you may need to look into, such as latency, but if your latency is sound, this method is consistent and it is very possible for you to do. So what does it look like when you do it correctly? So I want you to keep a keen eye on Keen Edge or Brutal Shell or any of my GCDs, and also look when I'm hitting No Mercy. So we're going to start with a Keen Edge, holding, and I hit it about 2/3 of the way through, 3/4, and I'll personally know that I've done it correctly if it lines up with 7 seconds on the buff, 5 and 3 and 0. But even though the timer was gone, the buff icon was still present. That burst strike hit for 21,000. What about this one? 16,000. So that burst strike, even though the timer was gone, the icon was still present and the snapshot still occurred inside of No Mercy. That counts as 9 GCDs. It's very tight, but it's consistent. And you can see, as a result of me putting No Mercy so far ahead in that GCD clock, I was able to land that 9 GCD just before the buff fell off. Now, it gets a bit more lenient with skill speed, but the whole point is that regardless of your skill speed or what you decide to run, it's possible. I'm going to show you what it looks like now if I do it too early. So let's get ourselves a cartridge, and we'll do the exact same rotation, or close enough to it. So I'm going to hit Keen Edge, and I've used No Mercy about 1/4 of the way through the GCD clock. And we're going to see if the buff timing lines up the same. Is my GCD going to land on the 7 seconds on the buff icon? Okay. Did. What about 5? Nope, lined up with 4. How about 3? Lined up with 2, and that's not good. Is it going to fall off? Yep. You see there, the icon and the timer both expired. So that means that that didn't get the full 9 GCDs. As a result of that, your XIV analysis will count that as 8 out of 9 because the entire buff just expired. That's how important that timing is. If I stacked more speed, that wouldn't matter. That was about half a second off. That wasn't 0.2 or 0.1. That was about, or 0.01 or whatever you want to consider it, sorry, 0.03. But that was about half of a second of the difference, I would estimate. But one thing you can do to practice, but I wouldn't necessarily encourage this in something like Savage or Ultimate because you may not always have something available, is to weave a mitigation or something that is available beside No Mercy, even Bloodfest is an option, to make sure that No Mercy is the second weave in your GCD clock. Again, this is something for practice and for circumstance, but I would highly encourage to try and get into the habit of getting the timing down with single weaves. But with something with a double weave, this is what it would look like. So we're going to use Bloodfest. So we'll do a Keen Edge, Bloodfest, No Mercy. You can see again, lined up right where I needed it to. And we'll see if the timing is correct. So we'll see if it lines up at 7 seconds in the buff timer. 7 seconds, how about 5? Looking good. How about 3? Looking good. How about 1? 7,800. Let's try another one. 6,700. That was 9 GCDs. Perfect. It's as simple as that. Now, again, there are various factors that play into this. If your latency is too high, you will run into GCD clipping issues. I do the same if I'm not running a VPN. I'm based in EU and I'm playing on NA. If I do not have a VPN running, it's very difficult for me to pull this off. There's other things you can look into, but if you are looking at seriously playing Gunbreaker and you're running into this GCD clipping issue, I would highly recommend looking into a VPN. If you are very serious about optimizing Gunbreaker, it's something that I would deem quite necessary. But that's pretty much the method of fitting 9 GCDs in No Mercy. Get into the habit of double weaving and using No Mercy in the second weave slot, and then begin to practice using a single weave with No Mercy at the end of the GCD slot. Again, don't get into the habit of just doing double weaves because something may not be available to weave with No Mercy. Use it as a practice guideline and train your eyes to know exactly when to press the button, and then from there, peel it back into single weaving. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. If there's anything else you'd like me to cover or you'd like to see regarding Gunbreaker, let me know. I'll make a video. I do hope this helps. This is, I would say, probably one of the most important aspects, rather, of Gunbreaker at the high end. So you kind of owe it to yourself to learn this timing. This stuff goes hand in hand with stuff like Inner Release, Blood Weapon, Delirium, that sort of stuff. So by learning this, you also train yourself for the other tanks and other classes as well, because this is equally as important on them as it is on Gunbreaker. So I hope this video helps. Thank you very much for any feedback or any support you guys give, any likes, subscriptions. I do stream on Twitch as well. If you want to head over there and give me a follow, I do greatly appreciate it. And I hope to see you all doing 9 GCDs in the future. Thanks very much.